I could just take questions. Yeah, great.
Well, one of the things that Chris said after the game the other night that I thought was really interesting is he talked about this team starting to become a little bit of a player-owned team. How have you, I guess, what are your thoughts on where this team leadership is starting to come from as you get into the guts of the season?
Yeah, I think our leadership is going to need to be one of our strengths heading down the stretch. We've got some experienced players, Adam, that have played a lot of minutes for us and been through some real battles, and I think that it will be I think it'll be a strength of ours as we head down the stretch for sure. All great teams, great programs that are playing meaningful games in February and March. They have leadership that begins to take a hold in February, and we challenged our guys with that, and they're tired of hearing coaches after 4 or 5 months saying some of the same things over and over. So when the players can take a hold of practices a little bit more and becomes a player-led team. We've been a part of some teams that have great leadership like that down the stretch, and that usually equates to success.
How do fans see that? Like, how is this team going to maybe look different going forward? That if we're not seeing guys in practice taking vocal leadership or things, but how will this team look different than it has if you're getting more leadership from your players?
Well, I think your older guys generally. There's a sense of urgency that I think it's hard to quantify. We saw it with Keita Bates-Diop and Jayshawn Tate our first year, felt it with Keyshawn Woods and, Andre Wesson, Caleb Wesson, and some of the guys after them too. C.J. Walker, I thought, played tremendous, but a sense of urgency down the stretch that maybe younger guys don't see the light at the end of the tunnel or the end of the road coming. And when you have older guys that have been through battles with you before that see that coming, I think that can be a very powerful thing. And hoping that a couple of our guys really step up and give us what we need in terms of leadership, also in production.
Talk about some of the leaders, the veterans, and things like that, but I'm curious how much of that you want to see more like in training and practice during the week, more so than just the game. I think there's this mentality that you need to have veteran players on the floor in big moments, but I guess how much do you lean on those guys to set the tone during the week, more so than, hey, it's a big situation, critical moment, we need you to produce?
Yeah, sure. It's a good question, and I think what we preach to our players on a daily basis is the carryover that we have in practice will usually plays itself out in games. And if your habits are good in practice and you're doing things with a pure heart and an open mind, and you're coachable, even through some frustrations, and you continue to kind of pound the rock over and over, good things will happen for you in games. In terms of leadership and how that sort of translates, I think it can come in all different forms. In practice, leadership may be motivation, communication, connectedness, program values, things like that those guys take a little bit more hold of, so coaches don't have to continually, preach these things over and over and over. That's part of becoming a player-led team. In games, it can play itself out in a lot of different ways. I think, some of the greatest moments that Kyle Young has had have come through his effort, his energy, and some of the things that he brings that may not always translate to a stat sheet. Last year we had a guy, C.J. Walker, his experience, his calm demeanor, being in those moments before, that can calm a team and calm a huddle. And you need all of that, especially when you're going into some of the environments that we're going into on a nightly basis. So it can show itself in a lot of different ways. I hope that answers your question. But I think what it looks like in practice and what it looks like in games can sometimes be a little bit different, but both very, very crucial and both very connected.
Asked about Zed Key too, just what you're most proud of with what you've seen from him this year, from where he was at the beginning of the preseason to where he is now.
Yeah, Zed has come a long way, I think, in a short time. And the exciting part with him is we feel like he's got so much more room for growth as well. I'm most proud of, his coachability, his decisions that he's made as a basketball player and as a competitor, on and off the floor, that have helped to increase his capacity. He's playing harder for longer stretches. It's not where he wants it to be. It's not where we want it to be yet, but it's headed in the right direction. He's been very coachable. Zed gives us an element of physicality that on both ends of the floor that is absolutely essential, as we all know, in this league. And for a sophomore to be doing that, and I tried to put this in perspective. Jake Diebler had some stats the other day that I thought were really good. He shared, it was just he and I talking, but kind of putting things in perspective a little bit with Zed. And, historically speaking, I would put this crop of big men in the Big Ten up with any year in the history of our conference. And I'm sure that historians would debate that, but the caliber of big men that we are facing and Zed is facing on a nightly basis is elite level. And for a sophomore, not only just a sophomore, but a sophomore big, to be able to answer the bell and provide physicality at his age, I think that's very exciting to see as a coach, because you know what lies ahead. And normally big guys pay their dues for a year or two. Most of them do. Even a guy like Luka Garza, he played a role his freshman year, not a whole lot. He made a jump going into his sophomore and junior year. But physically speaking, you've got to be in great shape, and you've got to obviously be able to play through contact and absorb some of the blows that are coming your way on a nightly basis. And I've just been really proud of Zed and his growth, and more importantly, where he's headed.
Speaking of Zed, Kyle, and EJ all had big games against Minnesota last game against those guys, and you guys really dominated on the interior. I'm wondering, how you replicate that again, and if you feel like, the Eric Curry being back for them, big guy inside, might change that at all in this second game.
For sure. Eric Curry's a big key for their team on both sides of the basketball, not only with his size and physicality, but his experience as well. He's been there. He's played in Big Ten battles. I know he's battled injuries throughout his career. Seems like a wonderful kid. Saw an interview with him the other day, and I know he's faced a lot of adversity, and his team has sort of rallied around him to an extent. So what he brings their team, it changes the look of their team. They're not a particularly deep team, and you lose a guy like that, and I think that hurt them from an energy standpoint, from a physicality standpoint, and from a depth standpoint. But with him back, it's a really different look on the interior. We'll have to be ready to match his effort, and we also know that they're going to be reminded that we did have our way with them in the first game in the paint, and that's something that we have to earn on a nightly basis. So regardless of what happened in a previous game or last game or 2 weeks ago, whatever, what is going to matter is the team that is the most desperate team, the hungrier team, the team that refuses to be denied in the paint. That's a team that's going to be in a good position to win the game tomorrow night.
I also wanted to ask about Eugene, because obviously he had his first career start the other night, and offensively he's not asked to create a bunch of shots or anything like that for you guys right now. But I just wondered your impressions of his first start, and maybe what he can do more of maybe for you guys on that end too.
Well, it was. For Eugene, him coming off of the injury and then being inserted in the starting lineup, I think it's a testament to the confidence that Coach Holtman has in him and the level of importance that he has to our team and our program, and he does. Eugene Brown has come a long way as a sophomore. Even from the beginning of the season, he's really improved, and I think he's found a real niche within our program, and it's something that this team needs, what he brings to the table. So really proud of the way he responded. I think the thing with Gene is, as much as any player we have in our program, he's comfortable in his own skin. He knows who he is. He knows how he can help our team. He plays to those strengths. He does those things really well. And, we love Gene and his family as people, but in terms of him as a teammate and as a competitor, I think he is becoming very, very valuable for our team.
When it comes to recruiting bigs, obviously, whether it's Zed or Felix coming up, but is that physicality, is that versatility, is that something that you want to see at the high school level, or is it something that you can kind of project when you see a guy at the high school level? Yeah,
I think with big guys, you have to look through a lens, a developmental lens, that you can't, I believe this, that you can't pass final judgment on them when they're juniors or seniors in high school. You're not looking at a finished product. Not that you are with guards, but I think with bigs, they have so much more growth in terms of their body, their physicality, their weight, their strength, and that stuff becomes really, really important in college. So can you project that? Like, did we know Zed Key liked contact, physical contact, and lived at the free throw line and was physical and an active rebounder? Yes, we did. We knew that there was room for growth with his body and his athleticism and things like that, for sure. And when you look at a guy, like you mentioned, like Felix, totally different circumstance there, but you're also looking at a guy that has only been playing basketball for a few years, and you begin to take that into account as well. Some of the cultural changes he's had, and different schools that he's been at, and things like that. So I think each is probably its own separate case, but you're able to know early on, is this a guy that's going to be more of a banger, more of an athlete, more of a hybrid forward, a versatile guy? And I think as coaches, we try to piece those together. You don't want to have two of the same guy, so to speak. In our league, you're going to have a physical guy or two, for sure. And I think you guys know our program, how much we value versatility from our forwards, ability to step inside, play inside, and step out as well. So I don't know, hopefully that answers
with versatility, is that something that, it may depend on the kind of big that you're getting, but, when they come in, is there kind of a set plan, or like a set, okay, we want this forward to get a little bit more playmaking ability, or offensively to be more important in the backcourt, things like that? Is that something that you guys have a plan for? Can you project that out, even if the big may not show that at the high school level?
For sure. I think you're thinking, you're thinking through a lens of what do we see this guy developing as, and that's, we recruit with certain things in mind, but you never approach it with a closed mind either, because certainly guys change throughout their career. Caleb Wesson, I can't tell you that we thought he would take 106 threes his junior year when I watched him play as a freshman. But to his credit, he worked at his body. He worked with our strength coach, who did a tremendous job in the weight room with him, and he worked on his game and expanded his versatility. So I think you have to keep an open mind with it. We're always trying to improve our players' versatility. That's important here, but never to the extent that you're trying to fit a round peg through a square hole.
Ryan, when Cedric got here, obviously an offensive guy, so I imagine you were working with him a bit, but played at a different level than what he had in the Big Ten. What was kind of your initial approach or your initial thoughts of his game once you got to kind of work with him up close?
Yeah, that's a good question, because Cedric, the first time we met was right when school started this fall, and so that's tough. It's tough from a player standpoint, because he's going to be thrown into a new culture, a new system, new terminology, new expectations, new standards, and we were able to tell some of those things on film. Obviously, you're able, with the amount of film available and the people that we talked to, I think we knew what we were getting from a player standpoint. But when you get them here, you learn about them. And I think we tried to learn as much as we could in a short time. To his credit, it hasn't been flawless for him. We all know that. And maybe what he envisioned at some point when he walked in the door, and but that's normal. I mean, you can say that probably about every guy on our roster. But what I've been impressed with is his maturity and his ability to respond to the adversity. And I don't know what his freshman year was like, how much adversity he faced at Louisiana, but I know that he faced some here early on, and I know that he's responded the right way with maturity. He's been very coachable, and we told him that early on. He's going to get coached, and we have expectations for him, as we do all players, but he's responded the right way, and I think that's enabled him to see what you're seeing. He's going to hopefully be playing his best basketball down the stretch, and he's going to be an important piece to our puzzle, and he's got to keep working and continue to get better. I think that's the mindset that we always have as coaches is we believe that our players and our teams, continue to grow and get better in February and into March, and that's something that can separate you down the stretch.
Coach Holtman mentioned on the radio today that he's played a big part in some of the biggest wins, the Duke game this past weekend. What enables him to be big in those moments, or give you those moments in big games, I guess?
Yeah, he's, we did learn this early on about him, and you can't always tell this in practice, but he's not fazed by the moment at all. Cedric is not, and if you've watched us play, I think you've seen that. Some of the shots he's made in the games he's made them, he's been crucial. There's certain games we would not have won without him. Absolutely. So I think that's probably at the top of my thoughts there in responding to your question is I think, the fact that he's not fazed by the stage or the moment at all, I think has enabled him to do some of the things that he's done. And, you're talking about an older guy that's played a lot of minutes at the college level and, excited about, what lies ahead for him.
When a guy like Malachi struggles for a lot of the night trying to get his shot and get to that right hand, and then you see him hit the one dribble jumper to kind of seal the game, what does that do for a coaching staff to see that out of a freshman who did struggle for most of the night and then can just pull that out of his pocket there?
Well, we have great faith in Malachi, always have and always will. So that part doesn't wane throughout the game. I think, what we saw the other night is, I think what Malachi will see a lot is, when you're at the top of a scouting report in a well-coached conference like the Big Ten, I think the best coached conference in college basketball, you're going to be challenged. And adversity and how you respond to that is a big part of it. And I'm not talking for long stretches. I'm talking in game, by possessions, not letting a couple of missed shots bother you or affect your defensive performance on the other end. And we challenged Malachi, but to his credit, he really responded in the moment. It's easier said than done for freshmen because they're used to things going pretty easy for them in high school. The amount of adversity they face, not being able to score, getting denied the basketball, getting bullied a little bit, guys trying to rough you up and teach you lessons. Some of that stuff probably hasn't happened to that extent. And to his credit, he really responded in the moment. He's a competitor. The thing I think we all have to remember about Malachi and all freshmen, and I'd put Michi into this category as well, is there's a process here that takes place, and what he's going through is normal. And facing adversity as a freshman is very normal. And we try to remind them of that, normalizing the struggle, so to speak. And there is a struggle, and the path to greatness for teams and for individuals isn't always smooth sailing. So proud of him and how he responded. The fact that he could come back and have a couple really big plays, important plays down the stretch for us on Saturday was really important for us.
I don't want to get you into comparing performances from him, but you see him have 21 night, I think 35 on the road at Nebraska, but 6. But they were they were 3 really big possessions where he scored on. Does that make the 6 points just as impressive of a performance as the 20 on a different night?
Sure, I think it's good to put it in that kind of in that mindset of thinking through that. But I would say it's growth. That's what I see is growth. I don't know, could he have responded and made tough plays and delivered 2 months ago like he did in a tough conference game at your rival on a big stage in that moment? I don't know. I know he did on Saturday, and I'm really proud of him for that. But what I see in that is I see growth, and it's incremental. There's steps to this, but he's really responded the right way. He's a tremendous kid. I think you guys have got to know him, know that he is a high-level human being. He comes from a great family. He's been raised the right way, and they don't want us to take it easy on him either. His family is telling us, hold him accountable, keep coaching him hard. They don't want it easy for him. So when you have that from a family, it makes your job as a coach a lot easier because, you're pushing him to be his best with the backing of his family.
Ryan, I saw after the game a few days ago at Michigan, just Chris Holtmann talking a lot about E.J. Liddell and how he should be in the National Player of the Year conversation, Conference Player of the Year conversation. I'm curious your stance on that and just how important E.J. is to your offense. I know that question gets asked a lot, but just what would be your take, I guess? Well,
my take is I'm going to echo what my boss said. I'm probably going to echo what my boss said in most cases anyways, but I'm going to echo what he said because I think he's exactly right. I think sometimes, things can get lost throughout a college basketball season, and you begin to take certain players or teams or roles within the team for granted. And I think what Coach said was right because if you've watched our team, this is not a guy just scoring points and making plays only for himself out there. E.J. Liddell is a winner. He's a 2-time state champion. He values winning. He makes the right play. He doesn't make pig plays. He doesn't only care about himself. He values the team at a high level. And it's been fun to watch as a coach because he's impacted the game and has impacted our winning in so many different ways. His passing, I know some people have talked about his passing. I think his passing has really improved. His ability to find open men, to make the right pass at the right time, on target. The quality of his passes, that's something that's really important to us. And when your best player's doing that, it makes our job as coaches and my job as an offensive coach, especially, it makes it easier. And it's especially important when it's your best player. So, we value EJ at the highest level in the locker room, on the floor, and around our campus. But he's much more than just a scorer. And, we know that, and that's why we try to play through him in a lot of different ways. So he's been great, and it's been a joy to watch him.
Gotcha. And another one of you guys I wanted to ask about was Joey Brunk.
Yep.
And last week we got to talk to him. We found out about his lawyer background and whatnot, took the LSAT over the weekend. How do you see maybe his meticulous side to him, how his intelligence and whatnot maybe translate to the court, and the way he gives you in his minutes?
Yeah, for sure. So Joey has had to be very resourceful, I think, this year, and I think that's a trait that maybe all teenagers or college-age guys don't necessarily have. And I think his IQ has allowed him to understand what the strengths and weaknesses of our team are and what we need from him in those moments. And he has provided them. He has been an A-plus teammate. He is a tremendous kid, and we've got a long history with him, as you all know, and he and his family, and he's been a great teammate. And so those things, I think, the fact that he's able to kind of connect those dots and realize this is how I can help this team. And I'm sure there's nights where it's not as many minutes as he wants or as many shots as he would want, but he doesn't blink. He hasn't flinched at all, and I give him full credit for that, because that takes maturity, intelligence, and an ability to kind of see how he fits within a team dynamic. Yeah.
Can I just hit Michi real quick?
Yeah.
Is he day-to-day, long-term, what, just from a very 5 mile upseat?
Yeah, sure. So day to day, I mean, that would be, sorry to not give you a real specific answer here, Wagon, but Michi's day to day. Obviously, you saw injury on television, the ankle injury, and Michi's a tough kid. I know he wants to play really bad, and important piece for our team as well. But our training staff's working with him, and hoping for the best here real soon.
Is there any update on Justice?
No update on Justice either. Yeah, I would say we'll find out more today in practice. I think he's incrementally improving, and so hopeful.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay.